is the question is not how I react, but what do we do? And my answer to that is head down.
Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. Happy Saturday. Hope you're having a good weekend so far, though it just began. And did you ever think Melanie Jolie and Ostriches would have anything in common? I didn't, but here we found some commonality there. So we'll be right back with more of the news you need to know here on Stand on Guard. And I'm your host, David Krayden, broadcasting live from Ottawa.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. Well, no.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah, that was Bill O'Reilly, of course, from his earlier days. You know, I've never watched Bill's broadcast, and I probably should put it on because I used to watch The Factor every day before everything went to hell over there at Fox News with Bill. And anyway, got a lot of stuff to discuss with you this morning. I want to discuss before we get back to the ostriches, and there won't be a single show until this crisis is resolved. And I believe it's going to be resolved for justice. I still believe that. I tell Katie that every day. And I believe it's going to be resolved for the family, for the farm, for Katie, for the ostriches, not for the government. And I'm going to fight for that. And like I say, I'm still contemplating whether or not I can do that from here or I need to go. But we will let you know. And thank you, Leanne, this morning for asking how much I think I'm going to need. And I'll be looking into it today. What I'm trying to do is get an interview with the CFIA for next week and details to follow. But let's have a look at what's going on with Doug Ford's little commercial ad here, which has caused all kinds of grief and anger from U.S. President Donald Trump. It's usually on the eve of trade negotiations, it's usually Mark Carney who does something or says something stupid. Remember the time when he turned up at a gay pride parade on the Sunday before the talks? Donald Trump was not very impressed.
For all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
Now, that seems to be a fairly innocuous ad. The Ronald Reagan Foundation has come out and said it's an inaccurate depiction of Reagan's views. It's not, actually. Anyone who remembers Ronald Reagan, he was and is my favorite U.S. president. As much as I like Donald Trump, there are times I really really have trouble with Donald Trump, but I'm 90% of the time I love what he's doing. It's that other 10% sometimes gets in the way, but Reagan, I loved. I was a true believer with Reagan. And Reagan was a free trader. There's no question about that. And free trade was a conservative tenet in the 80s. If you were a conservative, small c conservative, or even a large c conservative in Canada, or a Republican in the United States, you believed in free trade. That was as much as you believed in a strong national defense, on free enterprise, on a free market, you believe in free trade. So I'm not sure why there's increasing confusion over that, but there certainly seems to be. And so here's Doug Ford trying to explain his way out of this one.
I heard that the president heard our ad. I'm sure he wasn't too happy, but it's real because it was coming from the best president the country's ever seen, Ronald Reagan. So it's very effective. It's probably one of the best ads I've ever seen. and it's coming from Ronald Reagan's voice, and it's going to be focused right across the country, but also in Republican-held areas, because what I feel, the Reagan Republicans are going to be fighting with a MAGA group, and let's hope Reagan Republicans.
And this is interesting. I'll get right back to it. But here's Mark Carney's response to the whole thing. 30 seconds of a scrum. And I'll do my best to translate.
Avec les géants économiques en Asie, et ça, c'est l'objectif de ce voyage. Merci beaucoup.
All right, Mark Carney just said he's going to Asia to discuss trade and economic issues with our Asian partners. That's what he said. But he's got no time, pas de temps, or anything else. So there he is, traveling around Asia now, apparently oblivious to what's going on here in Canada, refusing to do anything about the potential slaughter of hundreds of ostriches. And we'll get to that later. The number I find a little bit difficult to determine right now what the correct number should be. But we're fearful, we're concerned that the number has dropped substantially. Now, Katie Pasitne has told me repeatedly that she is concerned the numbers are dropping and things are going on in the night. And we'll get into some specifics of that. But you remember how it used to be with our relationship with the United States? These are the halcyon days with Brian Mulroney and Ronald Reagan at the Shamrock Summit. And I think it was in Quebec City, yeah.
Sure they seal your heart away.
Now, what's the reality of Canada's economic factors right now? It's very bad news. Brampton's bleeding jobs to the U.S. All of these electric vehicle plants are going belly up. There is no market for electric vehicles. We have, I shouldn't say we, and I won't say invested, the federal government has squandered your tax dollars on electric vehicle plants. So the plants are closing, even though more than 10 billion subsidy package from federal and provincial governments to secure Canada's foothold in the electric vehicle supply chain. Despite these commitments, Stellantis confirmed this month it will restart its dormant Belvedere plant in the U.S. and abandon Compass production in Canada, citing Donald Trump's new 25% tariff on Canadian autos as the deciding factor. And so is the fact that the market has dried up. GM to end electric van production at Cami plant in Ingersoll, Ontario. It's not all because of tariffs. It's because there's no market for electric cars. American truck maker to end Canadian production of trucks sold in the U.S. expects 300 layoffs. This is catastrophic, especially for people living in Ontario. The car industry has been a mainstay of the economy here for literally 60, 70 years. Ryan Williamson, over 5,500 private sector jobs cut in Canada in just 4 weeks. GM, Imperial Oil, Scotiabank, Molson, CN Rail, and Vista. That's the reality of what we're facing here in this country. And it's not good news. I want to show this before we get on to the birds, which of course is where we end up every day on this show. as I keep saying, this story has become symbolic of Canada losing its way economically, politically, socially, and morally. Canada has lost its way in so many ways. This is a great little clip from Ronald Reagan. Since we're talking Reagan, I thought we'd add this on here.
Profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism. And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Not what we're getting with Mark Carney, is it? That fact, the fascist element, the classically defined fascism is a corporatist state where the government allows private enterprise to function, but it puts massive regulation and control on that private enterprise. So it's not really free enterprise. It's crony capitalism. This is what Mark Carney stands for. He's made, I don't know how many tens, hundreds of millions of dollars as in a private fortune based on his government connections. He's made his money in the private sector, but as a result of government connection. And that is what this man is all about. Now, of course, the CFIA issued, and we showed this last night. The show was over by the time Katie had put up her rebuttal. We're going to show both of those. But before we do, I want to show you this. Where's the science in this ostrich? I keep saying this every day. Because on January 2nd, the farmers received an email from a CFIA agent stating their animals qualified for a depopulation exemption. I've told Katie, talk about this every day, because the CFIA has never explained why they rescinded this depopulation. What a euphemism, eh? Depopulation exemption. Because the ostriches were considered to be rare and valuable genetics. The email included a distinct unit request package, a depopulation exemption form, which they were asked to complete and prevent the ostriches from being culled. On January 10th, 8 days later, the farmers received official correspondence from the CFIA denying their requests for a depopulation exemption, stating they did not meet the criteria for unique and rare genetics. They were also reminded that the cull order remained in effect, requiring them to destroy and dispose of all ostriches by February 1st. In the email, the CFIA stated this decision is final and not subject to appeal. So what is the World Organization for Animal Health? Whoa! Great acronym for them. What is their theory of change? Transform reflects a broader vision to ensure viable, safe poultry production that meets future market and animal welfare demands, and it's resilient to disease threats in a changing climate. This includes changing practices and policies by building partnerships and networks, sharing knowledge to support poultry farmers and traders in all contexts, strengthening public and private veterinary services and supporting targeted research, which is what Universal Ostrich Farms was doing, targeted research, to provide cost-effective interventions. Laboratory capacity is needed to ensure accurate diagnosis in multiple species. More, where is the science? The free status may be regained after a minimum period of 28 days. These ostriches are approaching the 1 year mark. So they've more than surpassed the 28-day mark. So this is according to the World Organization for Animal Health, which the CFIA reputedly and reportedly, according to them, they follow the regulations and dictates of this globalist entity, which of course is a lot less onerous than, so we've seen these, and yeah. So where's the science, my friends? Yes. Where is the science? There is no science. Now, I want to get to my X page here. I'm going to share this with you for a while. There's some really good stuff on here, but we have to get back. We had such technical problems yesterday. I apologize for that. One of the shows, YouTube crashed in the middle of it. But we're doing okay today. I want to share the screen with you. So anyway, no, I guess we'll show this one first, okay? We showed you this last night. This is from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's ongoing presence at the Edgewood, BC Ostrich Farm. To me, it's highly debatable why they're still there, why this warrant to search automatically was extended. When you read it, they should have had to apply for an extension. They did nothing. On Wednesday, when this warrant expired, the RCMP and the CFIA told people, well, it's automatically extended. We don't have to do anything. If you read the document, and we've shared that with you extensively, I don't buy that. But here's some of the incredible statements made. The CFI estimates that there are between 300 and 330 birds on the farm. Okay, is there anybody in the CFIA death squad among these goons who are on the farm? Can anybody add? Are they capable of doing like fingers and thumbs arithmetic? Can they add up how many ostriches are there? If there's 300 or 330, can you tell me exactly? Not somewhere between a range of 300 and 330. I think even the CFIA people can probably add up the number of birds on that farm. Yeah, it might be hard, might take maybe a half an hour, but I think they can do it. But they're refusing to do that. Here's what they're also saying here. Incredible. One bird died of a pre-existing condition. That's nonsense. The electrolytes were not provided to the farm, to the birds. They were dumped. We saw the video of that. They were dumped far away from the bird having access to them, and they watched the bird die. 0 birds have been euthanized by the CFIA. Okay. Depends how you define euthanize. And I think they're defining this in a very particular sense. Like they would literally be injecting the birds with a lethal dose of something, or strangling the bird, or God knows what else they would think of. But what if birds are dying through deliberate neglect, through systemic and systematic cruelty, maltreatment? That's not euthanasia by definition, but the birds are still dying. I believe the birds are dying. And I think that's why they refuse to tell you how many birds are there. Okay, 0 dead birds have been removed from the farm by the CFIA. Okay, but you admit 1 bird died since you've been there. So what happened to the carcass? Listen to me, folks. What happened to the carcass if it was not removed? Are they getting rid of the birds on the site and just disposing of the refuse in these blue bins, in these dumpsters? We've gone through this. This to me is integral. And I got an email last night about this, but I'm going to go to Katie's response to this now, because I think it's, like I said, Katie put this out last night, and I encouraged her to get it out there far and wide. It's on her Facebook. I'm putting it out everywhere because I think it's an excellent rebuttal. And I think people need to read this. So I'm going to go back to my sharing the screen here. Before I do that, I want to read this letter I got from one of my viewers. He says, I have been following he says, Dear hello, David. I have been following the ostrich saga almost since the beginning. I have never seen such insanity. Super Save, and that of course is the company where the trash is being taken from the gravel pit and then taken to this private company and included with their trash. Now we believe it's going to a local landfill, but that's what I'm asking people to figure out for me. He says Super Safe is a weak link in the chain. Let's focus on that. Their trucks are transporting material that is allegedly diseased. It has already been refused by the, excuse my pronunciation of this, Ostriches landfill in West Kootenay, because the CFIA was unable to certify that the ostriches were disease-free. So this landfill site wouldn't take it. So for Super Safe to demonstrate that they are not carrying and disposing of a dangerous and diseased cargo, as defined by the CFIA, there must be some legal angle to force Super Safe to open the bins or charge them with disposal of dangerous material, or the court of public opinion must weigh in. Thanks for your incredible work. Sincerely, John. Wow. That's what we need to do. That is precisely what we need to do. Now, I'm going to go to Katie's response here, and we'll show you some of that video. All right, here's Katie's response. Let's talk about the new CFI update, October 22nd. We appreciate the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has chosen to communicate publicly about the ongoing situation at Universal Ostrich Farms. However, several points in the statement misrepresented the truth and must be respectfully corrected for the public record. You state that 330 ostriches are out there. That's your number. Let's use that. Why can't we get to that number with clear images from the mountains around? So the farm is going to go with 330. I'm not going to get into whether it's 330 or 399. That's what the CFIA is claiming, but they can't decide whether it's 300 or 330. The Supreme Court of Canada's stay of execution was meant to protect life and maintain the status quo while the court considers our appeal, not to enable indefinite seizure and isolation of our animals. The CFIA continues to restrict our access and oversight, despite these being our animals and our property. Custody requires care, transparency, and accountability, not exclusion and secrecy. Counting and transparency. We have repeatedly requested an updated count of our birds, and each request has been denied. We are the lawful owners, yet we have been told we cannot physically verify or count our own animals, nor have an independent count by a vet. This is unreasonable and deeply concerning. We simply wish to confirm their welfare. Furthermore, we have informed CFI that our detailed manifest and lineage records will be provided only to our lawyer who we trust to hold them securely. This decision was made after numerous breaches of trust by the agency. We must ask, why does CFIA insist on obtaining the full genetic manifest of our flock? What use is this information to them while refusing transparency to us? Samples and intellectual property concerns. The CFIA's ongoing presence, coupled with their refusal to allow independent oversight, raises legitimate concerns about unauthorized sample collection. We have no verification of what materials have been taken since the occupation began. Given the value of ostrich antibodies proven in our past research to neutralize multiple viral strains, we have reason to fear these antibodies could be exploited for research or profit without our consent or acknowledgement. If CFI has taken blood or tissue samples, we call for immediately disclosure of what has been collected, where it was sent, and for what purpose. Number 4, welfare and care oversight. CFIA claims to provide feed, water, and bedding, yet the family and ongoing local veterinarians have been barred from conducting welfare checks besides that one time. If CFIA truly has nothing to hide, why are they preventing independent animal welfare verification? The public deserves to know that these animals are being cared for humanely. We see they are not. Record keeping and accountability. The CFIA states we have not provided flock records. This is false. Our affidavits, court filings, and veterinary documents have been provided under oath. The only reason additional data is withheld is the total loss of trust in an agency that has repeatedly acted outside the spirit of the law and without transparency. And I would also add to this, it's my words, not Katie's, they've acted in direct contravention of the law itself. Why this matters. If this policy continues unchecked, it sets a dangerous precedent. Farmers can lose their life's work without due process or testing. Agencies can claim control of healthy animals while denying owners even basic oversight. Decades of biodiversity, genetic resilience, and natural immunity, painstakingly cultivated, can be wiped out overnight. When CFIA destroys healthy flocks under the guise of biosecurity, Canada loses more than animals. We lose knowledge, immunity, and our agricultural future. And her final point is our call to Canadians. We ask Canadians to stand with us peacefully and respectfully. Email your MP, MLA, and the Minister of Agriculture demanding an inquiry into CFIA's conduct. Yeah, you got it, Katie. So I posted that this morning after Katie put it out. I want to have a look at this post from Bruce McGonigal, and we're going to go into this more tomorrow. So, according to Facebook, only 220 of the nearly 400 ostriches at the Universal Ostrich Farm are confirmed as still being alive. Now, Bruce is going with the initial figure of 399. The farm is now going to agree to 330, I guess, for argument's sake, but to see if I can't even say that's an accurate number. And what, based on observations from people who were at the farm, getting pictures, observing, there could be only 220 of these birds left. It looks like the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has been slaughtering off the flightless birds that can live 70 plus years without waiting for the Supreme Court to rule on the matter. Pierre Poilievre, will you now act? Text below is from the Facebook post. Link to the post is below the text. And here's this is from 220. That's how many ostriches remain in the newest video. 220 out of the original 400 under the CFIA's custody. Where have the rest gone? Why is this being ignored? Why is there no accountability from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency? This footage was taken by retired Sergeant Mike Roode, who climbed into the mountains with Luca Robinson to document the truth, because Canadian citizens are now forced to become the protectors and law keepers that our RCMP politicians refuse to be. Follow Mike at the Roode Awakening Tour. So let's have a look at the video.
Phoenix.
All right, so that's starting again. I think this is basically the same footage here, but
Phoenix.
all right, so this is footage taken from a mountain with a zoom lens. There's been a number of folks up there getting this footage. Where are they hiding the remaining of the ostriches? Okay, so if these folks can count the ostriches under these circumstances, under these conditions, where they're using a zoom lens, the CFIA is in this pen, they could be doing a head count. But this is highly, highly suspicious, because there's no other place to be hiding these ostriches. Anyway, we will. All I can say is yes, and share Katie's response to the CFIA. Like I said, I'm trying to get the flack on next week. Nobody's going to answer my phone call this weekend, but I'm trying to get the flack on this week to talk about this. And Agent Blusky, by the way, has done some damn good work. And he says here, the CFIA warrant is not valid, no court file number, not following any processes. And of course, on the day this all began, Karen Esperson, the mother Katie's mother, co-owner of the farm, noted that there was no file number on the document. So this is highly suspicious. And I think it's here. Here we go. I want to show this to you. Yeah, TMZ reported this, which is quite something. So TMZ reported this back when this occupation began in September, what, 21st, 22nd? Yeah, I think it was 22nd. And so we know that there's something highly suspicious about this occupation. Yeah. So want to get out of here for a few minutes and show you some other video. I think this was given to me by Laurie Shep this morning. Sure I got the right one here.
So he's got something else because he just poked it into the ground. Just kind of right by where that orange, just past that orange thing.
Yeah, I would like to have an accurate count. But it's a little hard to take a count from here and then take the count from there. And then what you could see there, and then you have to drive all the way around to the other side, and then you don't know if you already seen birds that you already counted or...
He's standing there.
Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming in on this live.
Is he patting her?
Yeah.
We have 195 viewing right now. Yeah, well, that's what they were doing with that one a while ago. They both had one on each side of the back end of the ostrich, and they were pushing it up that way. See, the truck's empty now, and they're coming out, so they're putting all that straw on that side someplace, on the other side of that pen.
Keeps touching it. He's like putting something on him, I think.
Yes. Out of the pail or something.
Yep. He's rubbing something on his neck. I'm gonna take this back.
So what were they putting on the ostrich's neck? All they're supposed to be doing is ensure these animals are fed and given water and provide them with the basics of life, including bedding. But why are they constantly chasing the birds? They're lassoing the birds, and they're in this picture caught by Laurie Shep. They are putting something on the bird's head and neck. What is it? Once again, the CFIA refuses to be held accountable for any of this activity. They don't want you to know. They want you to know it all. And to me, this story has become emblematic of how Canada is febrile, diseased, sick. Well, this is allowed to continue. And so here's where I want to go with this, folks. And I, once again, continue to send me your videos, your information, your tips. You've got my email, davidkrayden@hotmail.com. I mean, I do read your emails, especially if they're entirely useful, and they usually are. And I love your letters of encouragement. It's nice to see that because I have invested a lot of my time and my emotion into the story. And believe me, this is not the story that YouTube wants to promote on its site, because every time the audience is suppressed, I hear people tell me every day, "Oh, we didn't even get the notification that you were doing a show." Well, sometimes lately, because of the breaking events. I haven't been able to stick to my 10 o'clock time slot. Sometimes it's been later because of if I'm talking to people in British Columbia, 7 o'clock can be a little early for them. So sometimes I delay till 11, which I did this morning, even though I'm not talking to anyone from BC today. But it's incredibly important that we document this, because once again, here's what's happening. And to me, this is the Achilles heel of the CFIA operation, because we can't prove right now that the CFIA has killed a single ostrich through direct action or indirect action, through neglect, through maltreatment, through cruelty, or any other means. We can't prove that because we can't get on into that area and independently verify how many ostriches are there. The CFIA won't even say. They gave us a range from 300 to 330, which is nonsense. It's not a professional organization. And this, of course, we keep on getting non-answers or half answers in the CFIA. So, but here's the Achilles heel of this whole operation. They are taking garbage from the area where the CFIA agents are working. Now, this, if you believe the CFIA, this garbage will be contaminated because it's in a biologically contaminated area, namely the birds, who they consider to be contaminated. As stupid, as ludicrous as that is. But let's play by the CFIA's own rules. They don't play by their own rules. So if this material is truly contaminated or toxic, it's going, first of all, to a gravel pit outside of the farm that the RCMP has literally occupied and taken over. They dump it here. Then they move it to Super Save, which is where the CFIA has been buying these blue fencing, among other things. And it's sort of packed and compacted there. From what I've heard from the people I've been talking to, this includes Tal Salisbury, who I'm going to show you his video again in a minute. He's followed the garbage to Super Save. Where does it go from Super Save? This is what we need to know next. And if any of you out there can find out in the most discreet means possible where this garbage is going from Super Save, what landfill is it going to? Clearly, somebody is breaking the law to some degree. I don't know if it's a felony or whether it's just simply malfeasance, but somebody is breaking the law in this process. Because if they really believe this garbage is contaminated, they're not disposing of it in the correct manner, or even, I would say, the lawful manner. So we need answers, and I need more people on this until I can possibly get out and pursue it myself. But I don't know how much longer we have. The Supreme Court now is not going to report till after Halloween. We saw the latest, and here it is, October 25th. We were thinking perhaps October 30th. So this could go on and on and on. And I think the CFIA likes this because they're continuing to deal with the ostriches in the way they want. And I don't believe it's in keeping with the spirit or the word of the Supreme Court of Canada order. I think they're getting away with something here and need to be checked. But I don't know how much longer this farm has. But the good thing is, as people like you and I, as all of those citizen journalists out there, all of you who are taking videos, posting them or sending them to myself or others who will put them on broadcasts where large numbers of people can see them. I can use them in the articles that I'm writing for the Post-Millennial, for Human Events, for Blaze Media. It's all very important. Your work will not be completed for nothing. It will be used for a good purpose. And I'm going to continue to fight for Katie and the farm. And I want to show you this video. Like, this is from Tal Salisbury. And it's very interesting. And there you have it. And the other day, of course, we showed you the, I think, explosive video from the gravel pit. And that was from Blake Roberts, who is a regular at the farm. He's from Kelowna, works in Kelowna, has spent a lot of time at the farm, lending his support. Blake has done some videos, and once again, it amazed me when I first saw this video, because I said, why has nobody been sharing this on social media? Why are some people just saying it's just gossip that the CFIA might be disposing of the birds? Because clearly, when you look at the evidence that we have, and it's not very good, because the CFIA has done everything possible to make this a difficult job to complete. But the evidence out there suggests that the number of birds is in steep decline. And there's so many good people out there who are supporting on the farm. Maybe they're not there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but they spend as much time as they can on the farm supporting Katie and her mom and Dave Belinsky, the other owner. And they're doing a superb job of keeping us all informed, because there's a virtual media blackout right now there. And, and hats off to Chris Dacey for continuing to be there. I think he's been there almost a month now, or going on a month. And, he's continuing to post videos. There's lots of independents out there doing good work, but there's no mainstream media there. And the Rebel, can't always have somebody on the scene. It gets very cost prohibitive. And everything about the operation is costly, because this is an isolated farm. It's not right next to Vernon or Kelowna. It's difficult to get to and from. And this is the way the CFI loves it, because they don't have to be held accountable, and they don't have to answer questions, but they're going to have to answer questions. I am going Monday morning. I am going to say, I want to talk to the CFIA spokesperson, as they say, Spocks, as we say in the business, the flack for the CFIA. I want to put the flack on my show, and I want to ask some very pointed questions about their operation, and about their procedures, and about their protocol, and about what they've been up to since they occupied this farm, and why they think they don't have to answer any questions, and why the hell they think they're above, or they appear to be above the law. And any of you who've been following the story knows that's exactly how it looks. I'll be back in a minute. I haven't shared the story for a couple of days. Here we go. Have a look at our store. I think we've got some great material there, and I'm proud of it. I'm wearing this hat today. I don't always wear the merchandise as much as I should, but I'm doing it today. Keep the farm, keep Katie in your prayers. She is just so exhausted. I talked to her last night before I did my show a little late yesterday. Talked to Katie for 20 minutes or so, and she's just so tired, so exhausted. She's been working so hard for not only her farm and her family, but for your freedom. And I take my hat off to Katie. And we know the tremendous job she's done in what can be loosely described as public relations, although it's public relations of a very special sort. This is survival, crisis public relations, round the clock, 7 days a week. I think she's getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. She's up early. She's gone to bed late, and it's all day long, not just with reporters, but with supporters. She's dealing with people out there who are trying to destroy her reputation, that of the farm. I tell her, ignore those people. Nobody's listening. Nobody's watching. Focus on the positive. Focus on what you're doing. Focus on what I'm doing. Focus on what Rebel is doing and what Viva Fry has been doing. Focus on the good work. And don't let these haters ever get you down. But keep her in your prayers. She's tired. She's exhausted. This is the most driving, the most incredibly taxing kind of communications there is. It's crisis communications. It's absolute 4 on the floor all day long, all throughout the week. And she'll be at it again today, fighting the good fight for freedom, for private property, for farmers across this country. Keep it up, Katie. Hope we see you soon. Bye for now. This has been David Krayden reporting and broadcasting to you live from Ottawa. Tune in again tomorrow. We'll have more of the news you need to know. Bye for now.